an engine that sounded like thunder and hit like lightning. The Mack E9 V8 represented something extraordinary in diesel history, the only truly successful four-stroke diesel V8 designed for heavy trucks. From 1980 to 2003, this 998 cubic inch giant dominated the high-horsepower trucking scene, with power outputs reaching 610 horsepower and a distinctive bop, bop, bop exhaust note that could be heard from miles away. But here's what made the E9 story truly remarkable. It wasn't just an American success. This engine powered Renault trucks in Europe, served in French military tanks producing 1,000 horsepower, and became the foundation for Scania's legendary V8 engines that still dominate European trucking today. The E9 proved that American diesel engineering could compete on the world stage. Yet despite its global success and legendary status, the E9 was killed by corporate politics when Volvo acquired Mack in 2003. This is the story of the greatest diesel V8 ever built, and why it had to die. Historical context and development. The Mack E9's story begins in the late 1970s, when American trucking was experiencing a horsepower revolution. Competitors like Cummins with their KT series, Detroit Diesel with the 8V92T, and Caterpillar with the 3408 were all pushing into 400-plus horsepower territory. Mack, with their traditional inline six-cylinder Maxidyne engines, was being left behind in the power race. Mack's response was characteristically bold. They would create the most powerful diesel V8 ever built. The project began as the E1000 series in 1976, named for its massive 998 cubic inch displacement. The bore and stroke dimensions, 5.375 inches by 5.5 inches, created a displacement that dwarfed virtually every other diesel engine on the road. But the E9 wasn't just about size. Mack's engineers incorporated advanced technology that was revolutionary for its time. The chassis-mounted charge air cooling system, developed specifically for the E9, allowed for much cooler intake air temperatures than traditional systems. This wasn't just for performance, it was for durability. Lower charge air temperatures meant reduced thermal stress on internal components, extending engine life significantly. The four-valve cylinder head design was another innovation, providing superior breathing compared to traditional two-valve arrangements. Combined with an advanced injection pump system and improved lubrication design, the E9 was engineered from the ground up to handle sustained high-power operation that would destroy lesser engines. When the simplified nomenclature was introduced in 1980, the E1000 became the legendary E9, and trucking would never be the same. The Golden Age. When the E9 hit the market in earnest around 1980, it immediately established itself as the undisputed king of highway power. The standard ratings, 400, 440, 450, and 500 horsepower, represented power levels that most competitors could only dream of achieving reliably. But the E9's real advantage wasn't just peak power. It was the broad, flat torque curve that delivered massive pulling power across the entire operating range. The Super-Liner became the E9's perfect partner. Introduced in 1977, this long-hood conventional was specifically designed to accommodate and cool the most powerful engines available. When equipped with the E9 500, the Super-Liner became the ultimate expression of American trucking power. The combination was particularly popular in Australia, where road trains hauling multiple trailers across vast distances needed every available horsepower. Owner-operators embraced the E9 with religious fervor. These independent truckers discovered an engine that could maintain highway speeds with gross combination weights that would overwhelm other power plants. The E9's distinctive exhaust note, that deep, rhythmic bop, 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 became the soundtrack of serious long-haul trucking. Drivers would recognize an E9-powered truck from miles away, and that sound meant maximum capability was coming down the road. The engine's reputation spread globally. In 1990, the E9 found a new home in Renault's AE/Magnum series trucks in Europe, where it was rated at 503 horsepower. This was significant. It proved that American diesel technology could compete successfully in the sophisticated European market. Most remarkably, the E9's influence extended far beyond trucking, spawning a diesel V8 dynasty that continues today. Technical brilliance. The Mack E9 represented the pinnacle of American diesel V8 engineering, incorporating sophisticated systems designed to extract maximum power while maintaining the legendary Mack reliability. Every component was engineered to handle sustained operation at power levels that would quickly destroy conventional engines. The massive 998 cubic inch displacement provided the foundation, but the real innovation lay in the supporting systems. The chassis-mounted charge air cooling system was revolutionary. Instead of mounting the intercooler on the engine where it would be heated by engine bay temperatures, Mack mounted it on the chassis where it could receive maximum airflow. This resulted in intake air temperatures up to 100 degrees cooler than conventional systems, dramatically reducing thermal stress and allowing for more aggressive boost pressures. The 4-valve cylinder head design provided exceptional breathing capability. Unlike traditional 2-valve arrangements, the 4-valve setup allowed for larger total valve area while maintaining optimal port geometry. This meant the engine could move enormous volumes of air efficiently, critical for achieving high power outputs with reliable combustion. The fuel injection system evolved throughout the E9's production life. Early engines used the AMBAC pump in a V arrangement, while later versions adopted the Robert Bosch P71008 8-cylinder injection pump. Both systems were calibrated to deliver precise fuel metering at the high injection pressures necessary for clean, efficient combustion in such a large displacement engine. Perhaps most importantly, the E9's modular construction allowed for extensive customization. Military versions with quad-turbo setups produced 1,000 horsepower, while marine applications reached 900 horsepower. This flexibility proved that the basic architecture was capable of far more than standard trucking applications demanded. Challenges rise. By the 1990s, the very characteristics that made the E9 legendary were becoming problematic in a rapidly changing trucking industry. The engine that had defined high-performance trucking was suddenly facing challenges that its massive displacement and thunderous power couldn't overcome. Fuel economy became the primary concern as diesel prices climbed and environmental consciousness grew. The E9's 998 cubic inches might have produced incredible power, but it consumed fuel accordingly. Fleet operators conducting sophisticated total cost of ownership analyses found that smaller, more efficient engines could deliver adequate power with significantly lower operating costs. The days when raw capability justified any fuel consumption penalty were ending. Emissions regulations posed an even greater threat. The Clean Air Act and subsequent environmental legislation were creating increasingly strict standards for NOx, particulate matter, and other pollutants. The E9's large displacement and high power output made meeting these standards extremely challenging, without extensive modifications that would compromise its core advantages. The trucking industry itself was consolidating around larger fleets that prioritized operational efficiency over individual driver preferences. These corporate decision-makers needed engines that could deliver predictable operating costs, maximum uptime, and regulatory compliance. The E9's appeal to owner-operators and its focus on maximum capability became less relevant in an industry increasingly dominated by spreadsheet-driven purchasing decisions. The transition. The beginning of the end came in 2001 when AB Volvo acquired Renault's commercial vehicle operations, including Mack Trucks. This corporate reshuffling would prove fatal to the E9, not because of any technical limitations, but because of the complex politics of engine manufacturing and corporate rivalry. Volvo's acquisition created an immediate strategic conflict. The Swedish company already had its own large displacement engine program, the D16 family, and was committed to developing this platform for future applications. More significantly, Volvo was the parent company of Scania's primary competitor in the European market, where Scania had built their reputation around powerful V8 engines derived from the original Mack V8 architecture. The irony was profound. Scania's V8 engines, which had become synonymous with European high-performance trucking, were based on technology that Mack had shared with them in 1962. Now, Volvo, Scania's arch-rival, owned the company that had created the foundation for Scania's success. The political implications were impossible to ignore. Mack's engineers had actually planned a comprehensive update of the E9 for 2003. The proposed design would have included Bosch electronic unit injection, advanced engine management systems, and sophisticated emissions controls that would have kept the engine competitive in terms of power output, fuel economy, and regulatory compliance. Early development work suggested the updated E9 could have met emission standards while producing even more power than previous versions. But corporate priorities had already shifted. Volvo was consolidating its engine lineup around fewer, more standardized platforms that could be shared across multiple brands and markets. The E9's unique character and specialized requirements made it incompatible with this strategy. The decision was made. The E9 would be discontinued in favor of Volvo's D16 engines and other corporate powertrains. The announcement of the E9's discontinuation in 2003 sent shockwaves through the trucking community. Mack loyalists felt betrayed by what they perceived as the sacrifice of American engineering excellence for Swedish corporate efficiency. The timing was particularly painful. Just as the E9 was reaching its technical peak, it was being killed not by market forces or technical limitations, but by boardroom politics. The last E9 engines rolled off the production line in 2003, ending a 23-year production run that had produced some of the most powerful and respected engines in trucking history. With their discontinuation, Mack ceased all engine production, marking the end of an era when truck manufacturers built their own powertrains and competed on engineering excellence rather than corporate synergy. Legacy and modern reality. The Mack E9's legacy extends far beyond its own production run, having spawned a diesel V8 dynasty that continues to influence trucking around the world. While the engine itself disappeared in 2003, its DNA lives on in ways that even Volvo couldn't eliminate. The most visible heir to the E9's legacy is Scania's V8 engine family, which has become the most powerful and prestigious power plant in European trucking. These engines, producing up to 770 horsepower in current form, trace their lineage directly back to the V8 technology that Mack shared with Scania in 1962. The irony is delicious. While Volvo killed the original Mack V8, their primary competitor Scania continues to dominate the European market with engines based on American technology. In American trucking, the E9's influence persists in the modified pulling and racing scenes. Teams like Maximus Prime campaign 1985 Super-Liners with E9 engines producing over 5,000 horsepower using quad turbocharger setups and exotic fuel systems. These extreme builds demonstrate the fundamental strength of the E9's architecture and keep the legend alive for new generations of enthusiasts. Perhaps most importantly, the E9 represented something that has been largely lost in modern trucking: the idea that engines should have character, personality, and soul. Modern powertrains may be more efficient and environmentally friendly, but they lack the visceral appeal and emotional connection that made the E9 legendary. The Mack E9 proved that some engines transcend mere mechanical function to become legends. In our efficiency-obsessed world, what did we lose when corporate politics killed the greatest diesel V8 ever built? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more mechanical legends.